And we are only 8 days away now from the Kentucky Derby. How is the field looking as we are nearly a week away from this contest?
Right. Yeah. Well, California Chrome, he's emerged as the favorite for the Derby. He won the San Felipe and the Santa Anita Derby out in California, and did so very impressively. With sort of the defections of horses like Hyrule Prince and Shared Beliefs and Honor Code, California Chrome has emerged as the most consistent horse throughout the year. He has two big wins I mentioned, and he's actually looked consistently the best as well. So I think he's a deserving favorite. And after that, the race is absolutely wide open. There's horses like Wicked Strong, who won the Wood Memorial, but that was basically his first stakes win. A horse named Danza won the Arkansas Derby a couple weeks ago. That was his first stakes win. So it's really a wide open race.
And we're talking about the clear front runner, California Chrome. The owner, the trainer of that horse, bought it for only $10,000. What does that tell you about what kind of trainer Art Sherman is to make this horse a Kentucky Derby contender?
Yeah, well, there's that old adage that a good horse can come from anywhere, and California Chrome is certainly proving that. He was bred in California. His sire stands for, I think, $2,500. His sire is a son of Pulpit, who's actually the sire of Tappet, who's the sire of Tapetier and a couple other Derby horses and Oaks horses. So, but Art Sherman's been a very consistent trainer over the years, and is finally getting some well-deserved national spotlight. Anytime you get a big Derby horse like this, you're going to get some national attention, and it's well-deserved for a trainer like Art Sherman that's been doing a really good job for a good number of years.
Would you consider California Chrome the fastest horse in the field currently?
Yeah, I think, like I said, he's just been the most consistently good horse this spring. So he's the favorite, and he should be. I think my personal approach to this race is I'm going to try to beat him. So, I think, like I said, he's a deserving favorite, but I think there's a few chinks in his armor. He actually reminds me a little bit of a horse, a little bit like another very good California bred named Snow Chief, who won the Preakness back in 1986, but he sort of flopped in the Derby. And looking at the Derby field, you basically have to decide if what you've seen throughout the spring is what you're going to see again on Derby Day, or is that the best the horse can do? Is he going to regress a little bit on Derby Day? And is another horse going to step up on Derby Day and run his best race? And I guess that's the way I'm leaning for my personal approach, is trying to find a horse that's ready to step forward, run his best race on Derby Day, where maybe we've seen the best that California Chrome can give already this spring.
Greg Popovich, he was earlier named Coach of the Year this week, third time in his career. Mavs coach Rick Carlisle said, "Why don't we just give him Coach of the Century? I mean, he's the greatest." You agree with that? You think Popovich is going to go down as one of the best coaches of all time?
Absolutely. I mean, he's the best coach in the NBA right now. I think Doc Rivers is right behind him, but you take a look at the age on the team. I mean, that's the popular subject, is the age is Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, and Tim Duncan. However, they finished with, I believe it was 62 wins on the year this year. They've had at least 50 games won for 15 consecutive seasons, and there is no coach that has done better than Popovich over the last decade. So you might be able to give him Coach of the Decade. I really liked Jeff Hornacek as a runner-up. He definitely got my vote for a number two. I think all of us thought that the Suns were going to be lottery, and anyone that can get that amount of production from Gerald Green is just magical to me, because I had all but forgotten about Gerald Green in the NBA. But back to the Spurs, and Greg Popovich, I have an amazing amount of respect for Greg Popovich. I think that his offensive and defensive schemes, the way he balances minutes throughout the year, sitting players, resting players, still winning games, throwing his entire second unit into the starting lineup and still winning, I think that's just remarkable. And when you watch the Spurs play, you can definitely tell that every single play on the floor is an extension of Greg Popovich, his intelligence, his poise, and he definitely deserves it.
look at maybe the first 2 or 3 games of the season. And the reason for it is this. Statistically, since 1990, when they went to the 12-team playoff division, 22 teams have started 0-2 and made the playoffs. That's 12%. 120 teams have started 2-0 and made the playoffs. That's 65%. So of the teams that start 0-2, only 12% over the last 24 years have made the playoffs. That's really critical. When you figure that after 2 games, your chances of making the playoffs are 12%, you're looking at playing another 14. And if it gets worse, where your team starts 0-3, you've got a 5% chance of making the playoffs. And if they start 3-0, you have an 80% chance. And only 5 teams have made the playoffs after starting 0-3. So what I do is I take a good look at the first 2 or 3 teams, especially now, what their free agency period looked like, how they help themselves, what they're looking for to complement the draft. Thirdly, what kind of returnees do they have at the skill positions going into this year? What did they have? How did they strengthen their team through free agency? And then what are they looking to complement their team through the draft? Because when you really look at it financially, drafting your own players is like buying players at wholesale. Picking up players in free agency is like picking them up at the manufacturer's retail price. And signing your own players is like buying them at retail. So you know that most teams would like to get their players wholesale. They really like to retain them at retail, and they really don't want to pay the sticker price for them in free agency. But that's the way for them to create the team and for them to build it. When you look at that, and you look at the first couple of games of each season, now you start to realize who was back from last year, who are the new players that are going to make a contribution this year through free agency in the draft, and then what players are back from last year from injury. When you look at all of those things, and you start to look at the first 3 games of the season, you're really putting things together. That's why I don't ever pick and say, listen, the team's going to finish 10-6, or how about that matchup November the 28th? Because, as you well know, you have no idea who's going to be playing quarterback.
The Big Ten is expected to open their New York and D.C. offices on June 1st, and the University of Maryland and Rutgers will officially become members of the Big Ten Conference on July 1st. First of all, what do these offices mean in those locations for the Big Ten?
Well, I think, first and foremost, I mean, everybody who are Big Ten fans knows that, they're out in Rosemont and they still have that Chicago base, and that base is not going anywhere. But I think the New York base gives them, a presence in Madison Avenue, so it allows them to basically do some whining and dining when it comes to getting national advertisers, which has never really been a big problem for the Big Ten. But they now officially have an office there where they can work, directly with their advertising and marketing partners and their media partners. The D.C. office is an office without question for the opportunity to entertain Congress. I mean, as much as the business of sports is now that we are looking at the possibility of seismic changes in how intercollegiate athletics is run. All of these, and a large number of these, are state universities. So having a presence in Washington is something that the Big Ten is wise to do, and that gives them an opportunity to lobby and to take some of these congressmen out. And then obviously it's great for the Big Ten to have an office in Washington because there's many delegations from the state states that are represented in the Big Ten who will, find their way probably for the first time out to Bird Stadium in College Park and go out there and root for their teams as they come into play the University of Maryland.
We tried to have her on like 40 times yesterday. Technical difficulties. But Amber Lynn Pennycuff from Pennycuff Sports is joining us right now. How you doing, Amber?
I'm doing great today. How are you doing, Ryan?
I'm doing fantastic. It was just too funny yesterday. I'm not sure if any of you out there were listening yesterday, but we had Amber on yesterday. But for some reason kept on disconnecting us. We had to go through at least 8... We had 8. How many times did we do this yesterday? Like at least 8 times?
I'm pretty sure. Around that.
Because we had some great stories about going to Tennessee and banter about my trip in Tennessee. And now I don't even care anymore that I went to Tennessee because we got disconnected so many times. You're our very first guest on our new program, Sports District Radio. How does that make you feel? Are you that honored?
Yes, I am so excited. When you told me that yesterday, maybe that's why we kept getting disconnected yesterday, just because the first guest.
Oh.
So I feel very honored to be on here this morning, and with you guys having a new name and everything, that's awesome.
What does it mean, though, if we get disconnected with the new name? Is it just a bad omen all around? Do I have to just change everything, the career-wise, too?
Oh, no, that's okay. It just has to get its glitches out. Definitely not a bad omen. Maybe yesterday that was like the end, and then the new beginning.
It was getting all that bad voodoo out. I think that's what it was. And
exactly.
As I mentioned, I was in Nashville, and I absolutely just loved it while I was there. And I thank you again for your tips and steering me. However, you did not steer me clear of Printer's Alley.
I'm so glad that you had fun and that you loved Nashville. It's a great place, to come and visit and vacation, but Printer's Alley, that's probably the sketchiest place downtown, I would have to say.
Yeah, it just felt like a totally different area. They had a nude karaoke bar. I don't normally sing in the nude, and even if I had some drinks in me, I still wouldn't be convinced.
Man, I can see that going on in L.A., but when you told me that, it kind of didn't surprise me, but in the same breath it did. I couldn't believe a new karaoke bar in Nashville.
You could see that in L.A., you said?
Oh, yeah. There's some different people out in L.A.
Then I'm staying away from L.A. They got nude karaoke bars everywhere. I'm not going there.
Actually, Austin, Texas has some nude beaches, so you just never know. There's good places all over the place.
Well, it looks like I'll go to the nude beaches, though. That one I'll be fine with. But I can't walk around in the nude, so.
No. Neither can I.
Great topic to discuss today involving cable. There's currently a war going on as TV providers are clashing over the sports network, specifically for the LA Dodgers. Time Warner is stymied as it tries to force pay TV viewers to buy the Dodgers channel, which many don't even want to. Time Warner Cable has revealed that the company is no longer in negotiations with DirecTV to carry the Dodgers sports-owned Sportsnet LA channel, meaning roughly 70% of the LA households are still in dark and without access to the team's baseball games. Much is at stake right now, such as perhaps the future of the pay TV business. Talking about that and much more is Evan Weiner joining us right now. How you doing, Evan?
Not bad. I guess winter is over, huh?
Yeah, hopefully. I was up in Milwaukee, too, a couple days ago, and they still had some snow on the ground, which kind of made me depressed a little bit.
Well, we had some snow here last week, but that was last week, so.
Oh, did you really?
Oh, just a trace. The winter it's never going to end, but for the LA Dodger fans in Southern California, they may not get to see their
local baseball team for a while. And there's some irony in that because the LA Dodgers, back in 1958, when the team moved out there from New York, from Brooklyn, Walter O'Malley was not a great believer in television. The odd thing there was that O'Malley decided that 18 games was enough, 9 Sundays, and then against the Giants. The Giants, San Francisco Giants, I should say, didn't even have local TV until 1960 because, and this involves a guy by the name of Matty Fox and something called Skyatron. Matty Fox was actually a movie executive and put up a lot of money for something called Skyatron, which the San Francisco Giants would have benefited from had it worked. It didn't. And was early pay TV, very early pay TV. And that Matty Fox got $1 million, or gave Horace Stoneham $1 million, and said, we'll take care of your TV rights, which he did. But Skytron really never worked. There were about 5 or 6 or 7 games over the course of about 7 or 8 years that ended up on Skytron. Horace Stoneham got his money. Walter O'Malley envisioned pay TV in Southern California as the thing that was going to be a big, big deal. And Al Davis, of course, went to L.A. with the Oakland Raiders because he thought pay TV was going to be a big deal. And now we're finding out just how much of a big deal it is with the Dodgers.
And with the right fees and the cost of programming, how does this basically impact the current battle we are watching unfold?
Well, you got to go back to 1984, and a lot of people just don't realize what happened in 1984. Cable TV industry was dying. ESPN, Weather Channel, and whatever else was on in those days, MTV, were not guaranteed. None of those networks were guaranteed clearance on the local cable TV station or multiple systems operator. And both the cable industry and the networks lobbied Congress to get a bill passed, which became the 1984 Cable TV Act. And basically, it created a tier, a basic tier for local stations, and also a tier for a pay stations. And on that pay station, or which became known as Basic Extended, sports networks and things like news networks and weather channels glommed onto that particular band, and basically the sports networks became the most expensive on the band, and the Dodger network, which is Time Warner is the local cable TV industry, cable TV multiple systems operator there, is looking to sell their programming to the other cable multiple system operators in the LA area, and those MSOs think it's far too much money for them to buy the Dodgers. And the Dodgers are not getting any help or Time Warner from satellite TV. When the Yes Network started in New York, they couldn't get on Cablevision, but the satellites picked up, and whether that's DirecTV or Dish Network, picked up the rights to Yankee games. In LA, none of that's happening right now, so you have the standoff.
NFL draft coming very close. May 8th is the actual date, so only 2 weeks away for the NFL draft. Still, everybody's projecting Manziel or Clown will be number 1 or 2. Do you see any shakeup at all for the upcoming draft?
Not really, and not when it comes to the very top overall pick. I think the biggest shakeup is probably going to happen later in the bottom 10 of the top 10. But overall, I really don't think that there's any question that when you're Houston, you're going to get stuck in a situation where if you don't take Clowney and he goes somewhere and has 12 sacks, and you're going to look bad. If you don't take Manziel and he turns out to be a great quarterback, you're going to look bad. The reality is that regardless of what pick you take, you have to take the top guy on your board. And if that's where they've got Clowney or that's where they got Manziel, then they have more problems in Houston than who their number one pick's going to be. Because I don't see Clowney and I don't see Manziel as, not only do I not see them as my top quarterback or top defender on my draft board, but I don't think that they're worth banking the future of your franchise on either.
A lot of NFL scouts are actually doubting Clowney's just will to play. They think he dogged the entire career and had it really easy for him in the college football. Do you think it would be wise for Texans perhaps to trade that number one pick to perhaps get 2 picks later in the draft?
I think it'd be wise. I don't think they'll have any takers. I think it would be great if they could trade down and still get somebody that they highly value, but I don't think it's really worth it at their position. They can get a guy late in the second round, or even in their second pick in the top of the second round. They can pull off the quarterback that may very well lead their franchise because there's a lot of value there. I don't see a lot of difference between a Manziel and a Derek Carr. If anything, I value Carr more than I do Manziel from his work ethic and his size and overall physicality. But I don't think that Houston's got really a great situation because they're kind of stuck in that same realm that they were a few years ago when they took Mario Williams, and everybody said, "What are you doing? You're passing on Reggie Bush. This guy could be the greatest, running back in the history of the game." Well, they got the pick right. They picked the best player in the draft, and it was Mario Williams. Now, they've traded him away, but it was a much better value than Reggie Bush turned out to be.